Except you start life as a flat, slimy pancake that makes a slug look athletic. Right now, thousands of your brothers and sisters are dissolving each other in acidic secretions just to monopolize a puddle of water the size of a bottle cap. The winners get to live another day as disgusting leather patches. The losers become nutrients. Welcome to your first seconds as a sand trout, where fratricide is basically a greeting, and your only goal is to not become your sibling's breakfast soup. Forget everything you know about baby animals being cute. You're a quivering disk of alien flesh in a cave system, secreting chemicals that melt your own family members while desperately trying to suck moisture out of rocks. Your entire existence revolves around being a psychotic water-hoarding blob that makes cannibalism look like a wholesome family activity. And the best part? This is the good stage of your life. This is when things are simple. Your first few years involve mindlessly crawling through sand, sensing the tiniest droplets of moisture from kilometers away. You and your countless siblings form these weird group hugs around any water source you find, creating underground pockets that slowly transform the environment. Think of yourself as nature's most boring construction worker. Except instead of building things, you're just absorbing liquid. Thrilling stuff. Every day brings the same routine. Crawl, sense water, merge with other sand trout to form barriers. Repeat. You don't eat, you don't sleep. You just exist in this strange state of perpetual moisture detection. Your skin secretes this substance that makes you virtually indestructible to everything except each other. Convenient, since the only real danger in your life comes from accidentally getting too close to another group's water stash. But wait, something's changing. After decades of this monotonous existence, you feel a strange pull. Your body starts producing different chemicals. And suddenly you're not just interested in water anymore. You're drawn to other sand trout, and not in the usual, let's form a water barrier together way. This is different. This is metamorphosis time. The transformation begins slowly. Your flat, leathery body starts to elongate. Segments form where there were none before. That impenetrable skin of yours begins to thicken even more, developing ring-like sections that will eventually become your armor. You're not a sand trout anymore. You're becoming something much, much bigger. The process takes years. Why years? While other creatures get to enjoy their youth running around or flying, you're stuck in this weird transitional phase where you're neither sand trout nor sandworm. You're just this awkward growing tube buried in the sand, feeling your body stretch and change in ways that would make puberty look like a walk in the park. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, you emerge as a juvenile sandworm. Congratulations! You're now a 20-meter-long eating machine with a mouthful of crystalline teeth. Your first order of business? Figuring out how to move this massive new body through the sand. Those first attempts at sand swimming are embarrassing. You breach the surface when you don't mean to. Dive too deep and hit bedrock, or worse, accidentally run into another juvenile who's just as clumsy as you are. Your diet has completely changed too. No more passive water absorption for you. Now you're filtering sand through your body, extracting tiny organisms and minerals. Basically, you've become the universe's largest and most inefficient vacuum cleaner. The amount of sand you have to process just to get enough nutrients would make any sane creature give up and evolve into something else. As you grow, territorial instincts kick in hard. That section of desert you've been circling, that's yours now. Any other worm that crosses into your territory better be ready for a fight. These battles are spectacular and pointless. Two massive creatures, each hundreds of meters long, thrashing through the sand, creating tremors that can be felt for kilometers. All over who gets to filter sand in a particular area. Real strategic thinking there. Your senses have evolved beyond simple water detection. Now you can feel the slightest vibration through the sand from impossibly far distances. A small rock slide 50 kilometers away? You know about it. Another worm moving through territory 3 regions over? You're tracking it. This hypersensitivity sounds cool until you realize it means you're constantly bombarded with sensory input. No off switch, no volume control. Just endless vibrations flooding your nervous system. By the time you reach full adulthood, you're over 200 meters long and still growing. Your mouth has become a perfectly designed sand processing facility, with multiple rows of teeth that can grind through literally anything. Those teeth never stop growing either, constantly pushing forward and falling out, only to be replaced by new ones. You're basically a self-maintaining industrial sand processor. Your daily routine hasn't gotten any more exciting. Swim through sand, process sand, defend territory, repeat. Sometimes you'll sense something unusual on the surface and investigate, breaching dramatically only to find it's just a landslide or a particularly large rock formation. Back to sand swimming. The monotony would drive any thinking creature insane, but lucky for you, complex thought isn't really your thing. Mating season arrives once every few decades, and calling it awkward would be generous. You have to find another adult worm, which means venturing out of your territory. The courtship ritual involves synchronized swimming through the sand, creating specific vibration patterns that supposedly attract mates. In reality, you're just two enormous worms circling each other, hoping neither decides to attack instead of mate. The actual mating process, let's just say being hundreds of meters long, doesn't make things easier. You and your partner create massive sandstorms on the surface while you figure out the logistics underground. When it's finally over, you both immediately return to your separate territories, probably grateful to never have to do that again for another few decades. Centuries pass. You've grown to over 400 meters now, a true monster of the deep desert. Your territory expands with your size, but so does the effort required to patrol it. You spend most of your time in the deepest parts of the sand sea, only surfacing when absolutely necessary. Your body has become so massive that turning requires planning. Stopping? That takes kilometers. Food becomes an issue at this size. The amount of sand you need to process to maintain your body would strip entire regions bare. You find yourself ranging further and further from your core territory, sometimes overlapping with other ancient worms. These encounters between elder worms are less about fighting and more about mutual avoidance. When you're both the size of spacecraft, nobody really wins a fight. Your skin has become so thick it's basically geological. Younger worms actively avoid you, sensing your massive presence from regions away. You've become less of a creature and more of a living feature of the landscape. Sometimes you'll rest in one spot for so long that the sand above you forms different patterns, creating temporary landmarks that disappear when you finally move. The worst part about being this old and massive? You can't die properly. Your body just keeps growing, keeps processing, keeps existing. Smaller worms that get injured or sick can at least end their suffering. But you? Your regenerative abilities mean that even catastrophic damage just slowly heals. You're trapped in this endless cycle of growth and consumption. Then one day, you feel it. After maybe 1,000 years, your segments start to feel different. Not painful exactly, but wrong. Your perfect synchronization begins to slip. Sections of your body don't respond as quickly. The sand doesn't part as easily. You realize what's happening. Your body has finally grown too large to sustain itself properly. The breakdown is slow. Segments start to operate independently, your nervous system unable to maintain control over your full length. You're not dying so much as falling apart in slow motion. Eventually, your body will segment completely, each piece potentially becoming a new proto-worm, starting the whole cycle over again. As your consciousness starts to fragment along with your body, your last coherent thought vibrates through the sand. All those centuries of growth, all that territory defended, all that sand processed, and your biggest achievement is becoming so large you literally fall apart under your own weight. Some legacy. At least the smaller you pieces won't remember what a colossal waste of time the whole thing was. Wait, is that water you're sensing? Even now, fragmenting into pieces, that ancient sand trout instinct kicks in. Fantastic. Even death can't stop you from being a moisture-obsessed sand tube. The universe really does have a sense of humor, and apparently, it thinks making you eternally thirsty is peak comedy. Your segments scatter, each carrying that same relentless drive, ready to start the whole ridiculous cycle again. Forever and ever, one grain of sand at a time.